Hello and welcome to the Paid Search Podcast. My name is Chris Schaefer, and today we're going to talk about Google Ads. We do that every single day. Today is no different. We are continuing on in my greatest build of a Google Ads topic ever, I think, something where I am going through the principles of Google Ads point by point. This is something that I'm just beginning, so if you are new to the podcast, you're only 2 episodes in now on this topic. You can definitely catch up on last week's topic, which was about strategic relevance. And this week we're talking about the phases of success in Google Ads. And I think it's going to be a critical topic for many people who don't understand what success is in Google Ads and don't understand necessarily that success is not a static thing. It is not something that either you are successful or not successful. It is something that changes based on the phase that you are in for Google Ads. And yes, there are phases. We're going to go through the phases of Google Ads and what success point looks like for each one of those. So stay tuned. If you're not subscribed, be sure and subscribe, because this is an ongoing topic that if you're new to Google Ads, it will help you to understand the purpose, the process behind managing Google Ads accounts, behind getting more out of your Google Ads accounts. If you are a long-time listener, this is going to help you gather so much of what I've talked about over the years of Google Ads and put it into a nice, pretty comfortable package. And at the end of this whole discussion, weeks, months from now, we're going to have a very nice principle of Google Ads layout that I think will establish a wonderful basis for the years to come. So, without further ado, let's jump in to the first point of the podcast. We always do a question from a listener. Today's question comes from Adam. I happen to know Adam, at least digitally. I know Adam. He was part of the Patreon back in the day, so good to hear from Adam again. Always appreciate hearing from longtime listeners, first-time questioners. Adam says, but before I do that, I got you. See, I want to tell you about Opteo. You didn't know that I had something in store here, but I do. I want to tell you about one thing that you need to know before we start this podcast is Opteo.com/PSP is the software that will complete your management process. You don't know what you're missing until you have tried out Opteo. Opteo is an online software. You sign up at Opteo.com/PSP. You get a 2-month free trial of this tool, and you'll understand why it is the #1 tool for Google Ads managers. I hear about people saying, Chris, thank you so much. This is an amazing tool, so smart. It's helping me understand things. It's helping me to be accountable for things in Google Ads so I don't miss some critical things that just fly right past us. We all live very busy lives. We all have very busy jobs. We can't necessarily see everything in Google Ads, and Opteo helps us to get more done in Google Ads and to keep us accountable for things that we might miss. It helps with high-level strategic ideas and very low-level, just basic search term qualification, bidding strategies, things like that. It helps you across the board. You're going to love it. You can try it at opteo.com/PSP. Use the chat in the very bottom of the page to tell them, hey, I heard about it from the Paid Search Podcast. Chris told me to come here. Can I have the 2-month free trial? And they will hook you up. Adam says, hey, Chris, longtime listener, former Patreon member, and first-time question asker. I run lead gen ads for a few senior communities in the Western United States. We're constantly getting leads that are looking for low-income or government-subsidized housing. Okay, so if you don't know what he means by that, basically unqualified traffic. This is a problem. These are people who are not going to be able to afford whatever this community is selling. Adam goes on to say, I'm wondering if you have any thoughts or other ways to drive quality leads, or if hearing sales teams complain all the time about quality as just the cost of doing business with lead generation campaigns. Here's what I've tried so far, he says. Offline conversion tracking. He's tried negating out various numbers where people might say housing under $500, under $300. So he's blocked certain dollar amounts that are just out of the question. He's tried different luxury audiences to target those for higher net worth individuals. And he's tried to exclude anyone who's already been entered into the CRM, the system, but was unqualified. All right. So Adam, let's talk about your first question, because your first question was very important. Is this just a normal day in the life of lead generation, hearing the sales team complain? The answer is yes. Salespeople are always going to complain about the fact that that lead was not perfect, and because they make money by selling to people, and if you don't supply them the perfect lead, it's your fault because they wasted their time, and that's understandable. Salespeople have a very tough job trying to pitch a product and get them to buy in. And if you don't deliver a qualified lead to that person, you're going to hear it. And it always goes down the chain, down to the marketing person. You're going to hear it from the CEO, whoever you talk to, you're going to hear it from them and say, hey, we're having problems. Last week we got, 100 leads, but, 50, 40 of those were just unqualified. They just couldn't afford the product, the service, whatever. It happens. What should not be normal is that it should not necessarily be a tremendous amount. It should not be such a problem that it's a waste of everyone's time. That is a major issue. So it doesn't sound like that's really the problem right now. It sounds like it's something that you tried to fix. I'm going to assume that it's not just an absolutely saturating problem, but it will be an ongoing problem for everyone, because not everyone that submits their information, calls a number, is going to be able to afford said service or product. That's just part of the process. So what's a healthy balance for something like this? Well, a healthy balance is going to be, I usually find like maybe 20%, 25%, maybe 30%, 10%. It's going to kind of range depending on how expensive and exclusive this product is. If it's a very luxury item, you'll experience much higher numbers of unqualified visitors. So you have to understand that, for example, if you're running a addiction, drug and alcohol kind of program, and it might be a luxury program where you stay for multiple months, weeks at a time, and it's a all expenses paid kind of detoxing kind of very luxurious place in a very beautiful part of the country, you'll get a lot of conversions. You will not get a lot of successful sales. It's understandable. But if you are selling just a hospital room to detox in and to change your habits through that, and it's very affordable, it's designed as more of a facility, more of just a hospital kind of environment, it's going to be much more affordable, and therefore a large number of leads may convert at a much higher rate. So it depends. So you first put into scale, how unattainable is this for the basis of where everything else is. If the price is very, very high, you cannot consider this as much of a problem as though the price point might be more mid-tier, a mid-tier price point. If this is happening for a mid-tier price point, this is a major problem. If it's happening for a very high price point product or service, then that's understandable. It probably will continue. You can't stop it. So now, Adam, your question was, Are there any other ways to fix it? And you really hit on a lot of things there, and I think all those are good ideas. Offline conversions, blocking out certain search terms that disqualify the person based on their search itself. Other things, using audiences. There's one more thing that I think is, for me, what I've found in the past is not quite as obvious, and this is a risk. If you do this could be a risk in your Google Ads account. But I'll say many times I have found this to be the major problem that's causing this. And that is the mistake that's being made is this. The majority of traffic is coming in on the core term itself. So in this example, it is senior living communities. Let's say that a large percentage, I don't know what the account looks like, but I'm just going to make up something here. Let's say a large percentage of the traffic, it's just senior living, senior communities near me, things like that. Just very to the point, plain vanilla, not very creative searches. That's 80% of the traffic. This absolutely can lead to a very high disqualification rate of the leads because there's no variety. You have no opportunity to sort the apples from the oranges here. If everyone's searching senior community, senior living, with no qualification, with no additional adjective or action term or anything like that, it's going to be very difficult to know who is who. And the problem is this is usually where most of the traffic lives on Google. It's not the person's job that's doing the search to qualify their search. If you believe that, you'll fail at Google Ads. The people who are doing searches are not stopping and thinking, well, how do I do a search that's going to best represent my income level and who I am as a person? No, they go tippity-tap, and just search. It makes no difference to them. They will click, 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 and spend $400, and they have no idea that they just spent $400 because they clicked on a whole bunch of ads, and those ads cost all those advertisers money. It is not their job to qualify their search. It's your job to analyze their search and fix it. So if you're leaning into just core terms like living communities or senior communities, senior living, things like that, try diversifying the kind of traffic that you're getting. Try finding those other outlying areas that might further qualify something beyond just the top of the funnel. A person's likely going to be doing multiple searches. They're going to be doing searches in geographic area references, searches that mention a certain healthcare that might or might not be accepted, certain amenities that might or might not be there. They're going to be doing searches beyond just senior living. That's a good place to start. Don't house your entire campaign at the beginning, the very top of the funnel. Sample other areas. And this might be the best way to find a higher conversion success rate, meaning salespeople are able to close those calls on a more higher percentage than they would otherwise. Thank you, Adam, for the question. If you would like to send in a question, I would be happy to answer it. You can find thepaidsearchpodcast.com. You can find the email there. Send in a question. I usually reply and let you know if it's going to be answered that week. And I never share private information or anything like that, so you can ask away even if you're, asking about one of your clients or, complaining about your agency that you're working in. You're safe here. I don't. If you want to give me a fake name, you can do that too. I've had people tell me that. And lately, I've had people tell me, hey, Chris, don't even try and say my name. You're stupid Texas tongue is not even close to saying my name. And yeah, I pre-apologize for those, because they will happen. Okay, we are going to get into the phases of success. This is Foundation of Google Ads topic number 2. This is designed to help you better manage your Google Ads accounts and keep them on track. Previously, we've gone through the strategic relevance topic last week, and today we're talking about phases of success. Before I jump into that, please remember, check out opteo.com. That's opteo.com/PSP to try their software for 2 months. That's 2 months for free, courtesy of this podcast. And it also helps. If you appreciate this show, you can leave a 5-star review. Also, you could go check out our sponsor. That communicates to them that, hey, keep sponsoring Chris. Keep giving to this podcast, this resource that I enjoy, and by doing that, you can let them know that it's a good resource for them to keep investing in. All right, phases of success. So let me unpack this a bit. Phases of success references 2 things. And I'm choosing my titles very critically because I want them to be powerful, understandable principles in Google Ads, not just throwaway names. So this name, Phases of Success, references 2 things. The first is that there are phases to Google Ads. You don't just turn on Google Ads and run it. There is a phase. I've talked about this in earlier podcasts. I'm going to be very precise in this episode to reach a definitive definition of what these phases are and what the success is. So phases of success implies that there are phases in Google Ads and that there are different success points registered in each one of those phases of Google Ads. So you would then measure the success of your Google Ads account based on whatever phase you are in. For example, if a person is running their Google Ads account, they've been running it for 2 weeks, they're very likely in phase 1 of Google Ads, which we'll go through what those are in a minute. And in no way would that person judge the success of their account with someone who's been running their Google Ads account for 4 years and might be very well into phase 3 of Google Ads. Those 2 success points are very different because they are each working with the problems that they have of that phase. So let's define what success is, what these phases are, and go through them. There are 4 phases. We'll begin with, no surprise, phase 1. Phase 1 of Google Ads is get qualified traffic. Okay, very simple. Get qualified traffic. Let me define that. That is basically traffic that matters to you based on whatever it is that you're selling. This particular phase is where all accounts start, where they begin. All accounts begin in phase 1, and most accounts die in phase 1. I don't mean that they never get past phase 1. I just mean they can go up phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, and then drop down to phase 2, and then draw, and then they'll usually die back in phase 1. Accounts usually don't die in phase 3 or 4. Most of the time they're going to die in phase 1 because they never really achieved full qualified traffic, and the campaign never got past that and never got into conversions and ROAS and success and measuring that or anything like that. They begin and die in this phase. So, if you want to know if you're being successful in this phase, here are some examples about what success looks like. Because this is the most obscure success measurement of all the phases. This is the one that you can't necessarily measure success in any solid metric like there would be in other phases, because it's measured on qualification, and qualification is relevant to your company, your business, your goals. I mean, whatever it is you're selling, it's something that you have to determine for yourself. So let's define what it looks like. So here's an example. Are the searches relevant to your target audience? Okay. So I'm going to lay out an example about what success would and would not look like. So if the searches are relevant to your target audience, great. It's easier to define what that does not look like rather than defining what it is looks like. So here's an example of what failure of meeting the success point in phase one looks like. Let's say you're selling aluminum fences, and the searches that you're getting are searches for best fences for pools. This is somewhat related to aluminum fences. There, absolutely, you may want an aluminum fence that goes around your pool. That makes a lot of sense, but that seems like a leap, doesn't it? You're pushing aluminum fences on someone who isn't necessarily searching, and you probably don't have a page that's like, here's why aluminum fences are best for pools. You probably didn't set that up, I'm going to imagine. Let's say it's, just a normal Google Ads campaign, and that's the traffic. You're getting a lot of stuff like that. That's an example of not meeting a success point for phase one of Google Ads. You're not getting really qualified traffic. It's not as much of a measurable success point as others. And so that's why we go through these examples, because what you should be getting is people that are looking to buy aluminum fences. How much are aluminum fences? Who can install aluminum fences? I need a wholesale aluminum fence supplier. These are the kind of searches that would be more appropriate. More to the point, people who want to buy this, and you're not having to convince them, oh, you're getting a pool installed and you want a fence around it for security? Oh, aluminum fence. What? That's not what I searched for. That's irrelevant. That's not qualified. That's not success for phase one. Here's another example. Question to ask yourself: is the traffic ready for the product or service that you're selling? Example: recently working on an account, and I was blown away to see a person who provides epoxy garage floor services where they coat and paint with this, really cool textures on top of garage floors. And the number one search they were getting was just epoxy floor paint, or paint for garage floor, or floor epoxy paint, epoxy floor paint. I mean, it was the same kind of thing. And guess what these services were looking for? They're looking for a product. They're not looking for a service. So this traffic is not ready for the service that this person was providing. It's highly unqualified. These people are looking to buy something at the store down the street, order something online, watch a YouTube video, because these people are likely planning on doing it themselves. They're not looking for a professional. And if you're trying to sell this service and you're not specifically building something that's trying to reach out to people who are DIYers and trying to pitch them your highly expensive service, which is probably a bad idea, then you're doing it wrong. You did not get success point covered for get qualified traffic. So I hope that's clear. I hope you understand now. Phase one is about get qualified traffic. Get the traffic that matches the intent of what it is that you are selling. Moving on now to phase two. Phase two, convert qualified traffic. This stage is where many accounts reach stalemate. This does not often lead to someone achieving phase 3 and 4. There's not an automatic upgrade from phase 2 to phase 3 and phase 4. Convert qualified traffic can happen in levels. It happens in degrees. And a good example, as always, is to give you some facts about what this looks like in real world. So for an example, for someone who has reached phase 2 and has reached a stalemate and never is going to achieve phase 3 is someone that's been writing, R-I-D-I-N-G, writing at a constant 0.3% conversion rate. Now, I understand conversion rates are very relative to, your whatever you're selling, doing, but that's a pretty low conversion rate. And if you've been running that conversion rate for months, years, this is highly concerning. You have likely reached a stalemate. This is a quote-unquote success of phase 2. You have converted some qualified traffic, but you are not moving forward. Success of phase 2 looks like the conversions increasing. The degree should be increasing. Now, it always goes up. There's always hills and valleys. It always goes up and down. But it should be a progressive movement of learning, fixing, testing, learning, fixing, testing. This is a cycle. This is one part that is absolutely cycle, because you need to cycle up, get that thing going, and then eventually on one cycle, boom, you'll hit phase 3. So you need to convert more and more of your traffic and get a higher percentage. And if you reach a stalemate, where many accounts do, they stall out at this point. They get a few conversions a month and they never really reach phase 3. Now, that can be totally acceptable. I'll say this. There's no reason why you have to go to phase 3, because many accounts cannot really properly measure in the degree that we'll talk about for phase 3, but many accounts reach this stalemate, and it's a good place to be. You're getting some conversions, but if you want to move to phase 3, it must be a progressive movement. So the success of phase 2 is conversions that continue to increase and improve. Now, you are reaching phase 3 when you have progressively improved your conversion rate and achieve and maintain your KPIs. When you achieve your KPI, which stands for Key Performance Indicator, I'm using that generic term just because it might be return on ad spend, it might be cost per conversion, it might be a lot of different terms. So I'm just going to use KPIs. Whatever your key performance indicator is that says, I'm now making money. I'm now selling enough widgets that it's paying for my advertising and making me money on top of it. Once you reach that and maintain it, now you are in phase 3. This particular stage must be accompanied by correct conversion tracking. No person is going to have true stage 3 Google Ads management unless they have accurate numbers of how many conversions, phone calls, signups, sales are happening on their account. So success looks like this. You establish an acceptable KPI threshold, an acceptable sales threshold, acceptable conversion volume number, and aim to hold those metrics for a period of time. I say period of time because I am not going to tell you how long that is, because that is entirely up to you, but it should be able to be maintained. Sometimes that's seasonal. Sometimes that's, for months, years. But once you can maintain that and you feel that it's predictable, steady, you are now solidly in phase 3. Additionally, this very well may be the final stage of your account. Many accounts do not venture into stage 4 or phase 4. Phase 4 of Google Ads we'll talk about, but it is not absolutely necessary that you move from a steady, profitable conversion KPI metric into phase 4, but you might want to. So let's talk about phase 4. Phase 4 is just growth, scaling, increase, of volume while still maintaining the threshold of the KPI you determined in phase 3. So phase 3, you've established that KPI. Now, let's say you're running a lead generation campaign and your KPI is, I want to maintain $100 cost per conversion. And you've done that for 7 months, and now you're ready. You really want to try and scale it out. It's working pretty well. You're happy, but you want to scale it and go further. You want to grow. First thing you should know is this stage is the most volatile of all stages, because success on this brings risk. Success on this means that you're bringing in new factors. You must test, you must experiment to be successful in the phase 4 growth cycle. And just the definition of testing and experimenting means there's risk involved, and therefore it is volatile. This is not a stage you stay in forever. This is a stage you sample and come back to stage 3. All right, I keep saying stage. It's technically, I like phase. So phases of Google Ads, but stage, phase, whatever. So this is a very volatile system. And what this looks like, if you want to be in this very difficult stage, you must test and experiment. And what's that look like? That means you try other strategies in Google Ads that get into levels of the search funnel that you had not previously sampled, ways to reach people that had not previously considered your service, your product, and trying to engage with them, taking segments of your market that you've done well in and trying to really hammer into those markets by using certain tactics in Google Ads. This usually involves multiple campaigns, other campaigns beyond just your main campaign, testing, using experiments in Google Ads, trying different bidding strategies. There's a lot that goes on here, and as I said, it is the most volatile. It's the scariest one, because you could do something here and boom, 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 knock yourself back down to phase 2, where you're just trying to convert that qualified traffic again. You might go to the point that you're so not doing well enough that now you're no longer meeting those KPIs. You're no longer phase 3. Now you're back into phase 2. So it is a bit of a roller coaster. No Google Ads account will maintain its phase forever. It goes up and down. Many people only stay in stage 1 or stage 2. But now that you know principle number 2 of Google Ads, hopefully you can get more out of your Google Ads than you have before, and you can maintain success and understand and ask yourself, what phase am I in? And am I being successful in that phase that I'm currently in? Thank you so much for subscribing to this podcast and being a part of this exploration of the principles of Google Ads. If you would like to engage with me for your Google Ads management, consulting, personalized coaching, you can reach me at chrisschaefer.com. The link is in the description of wherever you're listening or watching. Thank you so much. If not, leave a positive review for me. I really appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for keeping me a part of your journey, and I hope to raise the level of the PPC world 1 week at a time. Until then, I'll see you next week.